It's halfway to honing season or Halfoween at the This Calls for Confetti shop. So today I'm going to be creating a fun Halloween card using some of our Halloween products as well as some of the new products in the shop for Halfoween. So I'm going to start out with one of the layers for my card front, and I'm going to stencil it with the web stencil. I love a good spider web stencil. These are the best for Halloween card backgrounds. So today I'm going to be creating a 5x7 card. Typically I create an A2 size card, but I really had a lot of elements that I wanted to put on this card, so I decided to go with a larger card just so I could get everything on there and it would fit nicely and it wouldn't be too much for my card front. Now I'm also going to go with some different colors than usual. I'm going to use pink and orange together. And typically you don't think of those two colors together, but I absolutely love pink for Halloween and I wanted to add a little orange. So go through your stash. I'm going to be using Kitcsh Flamingo and Carved Pumpkin, but go through your stash of inks and just find a light bright pink and also find a light bright orange. So you don't have to use the same inks that I'm using, but these two really go good together if you have these in your stash, but use whatever inks you have. And so I'm just going to start out by ink blending some of the pink ink onto the web stencil. And what I want to do is I just want to take sections and add a little bit of the pink, but then I'm going to skip over sections and leave that for my orange. So I'm going to leave it white. And I'm just going to ink blend that in onto just a few sections. Now I do keep blending on top because I really want to get a bright pink look. So then you can see I'm just going to leave a little bit of space here and add a little bit more of pink ink here at the bottom. So you can see I'm not going to the very bottom of the stencil because this stencil, you can see here that white, the edge there, that would cause a line. So I'm not going to the bottom there, and it doesn't cover my whole card front because it's a 6x6 stencil and I'm going with a 5x7 card. So I'm just going part of the way down my stencil, not all the way down to that line, just so I don't get a straight line there. So then I'm going to come in with my orange and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm just going to fill in the white space that I left so that every other color is orange. And so as I'm filling in the orange, you'll notice that I realize that some sections might be a bit too large and I don't want that much orange. So I will leave a little bit of white and then I'll just come back with my pink and fill that in. But I am overlapping these, so I do want them to blend together some and overlap. So I don't want to leave any white space when I'm done. So I do want to overlap a little bit, and so it kind of blends together as it goes. And you can see here, I'm just doing about 3 sections for each color. Now I will change it a little bit. Here at the top, I decided to leave a little bit of white space for the pink, and I'm going to come back and add the pink. So really now we have 4 sections of each color, but I'm just trying to even it out so I don't have more of one color than the other. And then I'll just come back with the pink here and just keep blending those edges together as well. And I'll go back and forth with my pink and orange till I get it the way I like it. And so I'm going to make sure here in the center that I get a lot of color, pink and orange mixed in. So you'll see I keep coming back. I want it to be a little darker there in the center. And so I want to blend everything out. So when I get done, the reveal is my favorite part. I love using stencils and I love the reveal. And so here is what we have so far. Now you could leave it and leave a white bottom. I kind of like that look, but I am going to come in and fill in that bottom. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in with some of the orange and blend, on the sides where the orange is. So I'll try to just keep the orange near the orange, and then I'll come back in with the pink and add the pink to the other side. And then I'll just blend them together to get a look that I like. I don't want a solid line there. I kind of want them to slowly blend together, but this will give us a good base, a good place to set part of our images that we're going to be adding in just a moment. So I love how this looks. So I'm just going to set this aside and we're going to work on the rest of our card. So now I want to stamp my sentiment. And so I'm going to be using the It's Fright Time stamp set. So this is a new stamp set for Halfoween. And I know I can't hardly pronounce that, but it's halfway to Halloween. So I'm going to use, this is one of the new products for that, and I'm going to use it. It's called It's Fright Time. And then I'm also going to be using the Moments in Time die set. And so I've gone ahead and cut out pieces for that, but first I want to stamp the clock face. So I've cut that out of black. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stamp that with clear embossing ink, and then I'm going to use white embossing powder for my letters. So I will get this back on camera. I do apologize that I am off camera for just a little bit, but I will fix this in a moment. So what I'm going to do is I'm just using some mixed media tape. This tape is a tape that doesn't really stick hard, so it doesn't pull your paper. So I'm just rolling it up and putting it on the back of my clock face, and then I'm adding it to a piece of white cardstock, and then I'm going to add a little bit of the anti-static powder. It's no secret. So I did that off screen and I realized I wasn't on camera. So I'm just going to show you real quick how I do it. So I just take the little tip and I just rub all over my image or all over my shape wherever I'm going to be stamping. Now I'm going to wipe a little off because that was my second dose because I did it off screen and I wanted you to see. But the anti-static powder will keep the embossing powder from sticking in places that we don't want it to stick. It'll help it to just stick on what we stamp. And so you can see here, the clear embossing powder is clear, but where it's wet, you can see that I got a good stamped image. So now I'm just going to remove my stamp, and then I'll take and I'm going to add the white embossing powder to it. Now I am going to leave the circle onto the white cardstock because I seem to have lost my tweezers. So I've been cleaning my craft room, but I still can't find my tweezers. So I don't know if I stuffed them somewhere and now I forgot where I put them, but they're not where I normally put them. So this paper will make it so much easier to hold this circle without rubbing off any of the embossing powder or, getting my fingers burnt. So I'm just going to use it to hold the circle as well. You can see I'm adding a little bit more embossing powder because when I tapped it off, I tapped too much. I tapped too hard. So I'm going to be a little bit more gentle the second time around, and that way I have plenty of embossing powder on there. Now this is just the regular white embossing powder. If you have the fine detail embossing powder, it would do even better with the words, but I thought this one worked just fine. So while I'm heating it up, I will tell you a little bit about the Halfoween. So in the This Calls for Confetti shop, we have some new products for Halfoween, and I will link those below, but there's also an Instagram hop going on from April 29th through May 7th. So when this video comes out, we'll almost be done with the hop, but be sure to go over to Instagram and check out the Halfoween, or it's halfway to honing season hop, where more of the designers from the shop will be sharing cards using the Halfoween products. And so it's been a lot of fun to see what everybody is creating. I've already shared my card on Instagram, so go over to my page and check that out, but also go to the This Calls for Confetti shop and check out all of the other cards that are being created and follow along with all the other designers to see what they're creating with the Halfoween products. So here are the pieces that I've cut using the moments in time. So I used this piece to cut out the solid circle, and then the clock face with that piece will create a frame, and then I've cut out these little pink bells, and I've cut out this piece, the top of the clock, but I'm not sure that I'm going to use it. So we'll talk more about that clock as we put it together. But I've also went ahead and cut out some ghostly greeting pieces, and I've chose to cut out the ghost from that die set. I'm not using anything else in the die set but the ghost. But there are several ghosts. There's actually 3 ghosts in this die set. So I've gone ahead and cut out the ghost fronts, which are the ones with the mouth and the eyes. And then I've cut out the backgrounds for each ghost. So I've cut those out of black and white. And so I'm going to put the ghost together first because I want to show you some of the options that you have with the ghost. So you have the fronts and the backs. So you can't just layer these up on top of each other so that you just see the white ghost on the front and then you see his mouth and eyes are colored in. But there's other ways you can do it as well. So one way that I like to create these ghosts is I like to offset them a little. So in order to offset them, I'm just going to slide my ghost up and over to the right just a little bit. So you can see, let me show you on the white cardstock really quick. So here it is when you just layer it with the ghost on top of the black. You don't see the black other than in the mouth and eyes. And that, for some cards, that would be great. But I like to create a little bit of a shadow, so I'm just going to slide it up and over to the right a little bit. And you can see here, then you have a little bit of a shadow. Now, anytime I do this with dies and when I create a shadow like that, I like to do the same for everything, like if I'm doing letters or like I'm doing these ghosts, I like to do the same shadow on each one so it kind of seems cohesive. For me, that's what works for my eye. Now, if you like it another way, do it whatever way you like it. But for me, I'm going to slide all of these over to the right and up to the right. So that way, all the shadows are the same on each of my ghosts. And then I'm just going to layer them up. So this is our first little ghost. And I love that you have different style ghosts and different size ghosts. But I decided today, instead of just using one ghost, I wanted to use all three. So that is one of the reasons why I decided to go with a 5x7 card, because I was afraid I wouldn't fit all of this on there. So I wanted to be sure to have room. So you can see this one, I'm just going to slide it over to the right and up towards the right as well, just to get my little shadow. And each one's going to look a little different with its shadow because it's a different shaped ghost. And here's our last little cute ghost. I thought that he really matched the ghost on the stamp. So I thought he was really cute as well. And these are cute little ghosts. I really like cutesy Halloween things. I don't like a lot of horror films or horror Halloween. I don't like haunted houses. I don't like anything scary. But I do love the cutesy stuff. So I thought that these were adorable little ghosts. Now my husband likes more horror films and scary stuff, and some of my kids do too. But for myself, I like the cutesy things. So here is the clock base. I did that in black, and then in pink I created the solid circle for our background. I kind of wanted this pink to be peeping up through the clock face that we stamped. Now I did set that clock face aside to cool down while I was gluing these pieces together. So now I'm just going to grab it. It's had plenty of time to cool. So I'm just going to pull that off of my cardstock. Now you can see a lot of that anti-static powder is still on it. So what I want to do is just wipe that off with this is just a cloth I keep in my craft room that I wipe up ink and different things. But it is dry, and I'm just wiping off that anti-static powder so that there's, no white in the background of our clock face. So then I'm just going to add a little bit of glue to it, and I'll glue it to the center of our clock. Now, one thing I wasn't thinking about is I should have added the frame, so I can make sure that that frame that I cut out, I can make sure that it fits perfectly over. So what I'm going to do is just lay the frame down, because I don't want it to be hanging off the edges or anything. So I'm going to lay the frame down so that it fits on the circle correctly, and then I will adjust my clock center to be sure that everything's going to line up perfectly. And then I will just add a little bit of glue to this frame, and I'll attach it. I don't think you would have to have the frame, but when I create this clock, I really like to have several layers, and I like to add the frame last so it kind of makes it feel like that clock face is sitting back some. You actually could add several layers of framed, and then add a little bit of clear acetate if you wanted to. This makes a great shaker card as well. But I think it's really cute like this. I didn't want to create a shaker card with it today because I didn't want to cover up any of that embossing or any of the stamping that I had added. And now I'm just going to add, I think these are like little bells. It's the little alarm bells. I'm not really sure what you call it on the clock though. But it's kind of like one of those old-timey clocks where the alarm clocks that you used to have. Thought about taking the center from this piece. So really this is the piece that you use, but here's the center that cut out from that piece. And I really thought about using it on the handle, but I've changed my mind. I'm not going to use it. So I have my 5x7 card base. Then I have a piece of black cardstock that measures 4 7/8 by 6 7/8. And then an orange piece that measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4. And then I have my white stencil piece, and it measures 4 1/2 by 6 1/2. And so there are the layers for the front of my card. And I think they look really good together. But I'm going to go ahead and add the black and orange layer to my card. So once again, my card base measures 5x7, so I cut a piece of white cardstock to measure 10 by 7, and you fold that in half and you have a 5x7. And then my black cardstock measures 4 7/8 by 6 7/8, so that gives you just a little bit of frame so you can see the white. And the orange cardstock measures 4 3/4 by 6 3/4, and so that helps you to see some of the black behind it, so we just have a little bit of black showing. And then I did cut down my white piece to measure 4.5 by 5.5, so that you see a little bit more of the orange than you do of the other colors. So now I just want to layer up all of my die cuts onto my card. And you can see here where I made it solid at the bottom. That gives you a little bit of grounding space for your clock, so it's sitting on something. And then I'm just going to lay out all of my ghosts to see where I want those. And I will just figure all of that out. Now the taller ghost at the top there, I'm just going to slide him in behind the clock, and then I like this smaller one at the upper right hand corner. And I really think for this one, I want him to be putting his little arm over the top of the clock, like he's just hanging around at the top. So once I have these like I like them, I'm just going to glue each one of those down. So this little guy, I'm going to kind of turn him sideways like he's floating through the air towards the clock. And then we'll have the little one on the front of the clock, and then we'll have this big one at the back. But I do want to go ahead and add the clock first. But if you are going to be crafting along and creating this, when you add your clock, don't push it down really tight. Just loosely lay it down so that you have time to add a little bit of glue to your ghost and add him to the back of your clock as well. So you can see here, I'm just going to lay it down gently. And I'm trying to put it almost in the center of my card base. Now I just eyeball all this. Now I did tap down on most of the clock, but I'm not tapping down on the upper left hand corner because I know I want to slide this little guy down into the top there. So I'm just going to add a little glue to him as well. Now this is when liquid glue comes in handy. I know a lot of people ask when to use liquid glue and when to use double-sided tape or the tape runners. When you use liquid glue like this, you have a little bit more time versus the tape runner or double-sided tape. Once you stick those down, they're stuck. But with the liquid glue, you've got a few minutes that you have time to add your piece. So if you're using double-sided tape or tape runner and you don't have liquid glue, then attach your ghost to the top of your clock and glue it all at one time. So you can make it work with whatever you have. And now I'm going to attach the little ghost here at the front. You can see where it says Tick Tock Boo. There's a little ghost there. I think this little ghost goes along with that ghost really well. They have similar shapes. So I'm just going to add him there, and I'm going to tilt him just a little bit like he's floating around too. So I'm really loving how this looks, but I'm going to bring out some of these confetti pieces, and this is the Midnight Magic Confetti Shaker set, or shaker mix. So you can see here in this mix there is pumpkins and cats and bats. I'm not going to be using those today. And there's also some little jewels, some little green, I guess you call them jewels. And so I'm not going to be using those today, but I am going to use these purple stars. I really love these stars. And if you check out my card on Instagram where I'm participating in the Instagram hop, I have these stars as well as the little jewels from this shaker mix. I have those on that card as well, and I really loved how it looked on that card, so I decided to add it to this one. Now I do like to add a odd number of stars or any pieces like this when I'm doing it. So I'm going to add 4 here at the top, and then I'm going to add 3 at the bottom. So I like to lay them out before I start gluing them down, so I'm be sure I have everything where I want it. And so then I'm just going to use my glossy accents to glue on these stars. I feel like it helps them to hold on better. You can use your liquid glue, but for me, I have better luck with the glossy accents. It's a really strong glue, and really, you can use this as a coating as well, but it is a really strong glue as well, it's more of a glaze that will hold these down. So I'm just going to add a little bitty dot. Now be careful with this. If you want to use this to glue yours down and you've never used it before to glue something like this, you want to add just an itty bitty dot because you don't want it oozing out around your stars since these are so small. But you want enough to hold, but just a itty bitty dot will hold with this. So I'm just going to go around and add all of these. I've had so much fun with these cards. I've never really celebrated Halfoween or halfway to haunting season, as you would call it. That's a new thing for me. I have done Christmas in July, but never Halloween this early. But I have to be honest with you, this was a lot of fun to just do something out of the normal. You know, this time of year we're doing a lot of flowers and a lot of springtime stuff and bunnies, and I love all of those things. But to pull out these Halloween items and just play, that was a lot of fun too. So it's kind of surprising doing something out of season how much fun it would be. But I really enjoyed it, so I hope you'll give it a try. And also now you'll get your cards made ahead of time for Halloween. I don't do a lot of card sending for Halloween, but I do love creating them. I love to use mixed media a lot of times with my Halloween cards. Well, here is our completed card. I hope that you've enjoyed seeing me create this card. I hope that you will check out our Instagram hop, and I will link below to all the products that I use. Also, if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to hit the like button and to subscribe. And thank you so much for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye.